What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and welcome back to another F1 2019 Career Mode episode. Today we are in Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix, Round 5 of Season 1. As you're going to see in a second, we have both of our upgrades from last time being completed, a weight reduction and a ICE durability upgrade. And for qualifying in the race, it's going to be a dry session for both of those things. Our upgrade to our chassis for the weight reduction lets us stay on point with Racing Point. That was an accidental pun, but it lets us lead the midfield just by a little tiny margin, but who knows how much that's actually going to play in effect once we're out on track. We are starting to take a big gap away from McLaren though, whose gap is kind of growing. As you can see, our first ICE component is wearing out, so we are going to transfer it over to the second one and then switch back to the first one for Monaco, since that's a less power intensive circuit. And you can see the gearbox is almost completely worn out. It's not going to survive Spain and Monaco, so I decided to take the gearbox penalty here after qualifying to take the grid penalty here, since it's more impossible to overtake in Monaco than it is in Spain. But we're just going to hop right into qualifying here. So here we are at the end of qualifying 1. You can see that my lap time wasn't the greatest. A P10, I'm only a hundredth ahead of my teammate Grosjean there in P12, but you can see that I did 4 laps, but it was only like 3 actual qualifying laps, and my last 2 were basically the same. They weren't the greatest, and I think I did have to use 2 sets of tires. I just wanted to make absolutely sure that I was going to make it through, because I was kind of low sitting through most of the simulation in the middle part of the qualifying, because I set the first laps early on. But we made it through into Q2, and we are going to go into Q3 with a P9. We do break the 120 barrier with a 120.862, beating out Grosjean by 200ths, or maybe maybe like a tenth, not like hundredths. But we're going to jump into our Q3 lap here. I only had 1 set to go on here, so we don't have a banker time. I could have set a lap on one of my worn pairs, but it just wouldn't have been worth it, I felt. So we're just going to set one right at the end of the lap here. I do think it ends up being my best lap of the qualifying session, but I did make a fatal mistake near the end, I believe. Running it a little bit wide there, I feel like, but I was able to keep my foot to the floor, so it wasn't too bad. 4th gear around that longish right-hander, and I think I broke a little too early going into that left right there. This upcoming corner was tough for me all weekend. I always wanted to take in more speed than I could, and I did spin out a bit, and I had to use a few flashbacks during during practice sessions. But that was another tough braking zone for me. But where I was really losing all my time was in sector 3. There, I get into the curb and I have to let off, making me slow down. I run over the curb there, it kind of slows me down again, and we actually get a good run out of the final chicane, but we've already done the damage to our time. It's going to be P10 here.
It's a bit disappointing, but we just need to push hard in the race if we can still come away with something.
It was my best lap time of the entire qualifying session, but
let's review our top 3 today. Verstappen, Butler, and Charles Leclerc. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
as I was saying, that was my best lap time of the qualifying session. I was up 2 tenths on my Q2 time, but that was just more of the track rubbering in than my actual driving skill. As you can see, that Grosjean beats us by 2 tenths, so he's improved massively. He was really holding back some pace in the first few qualifying sessions, but it's a Red Bull lockout with Verstappen and Butler on the front row, and then Leclerc and finishing out the podium positions there.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. Your qualifying pace didn't put you at the front of the grid. Will this be a problem tomorrow?
I don't know what Claire is talking about, but our car is never going to be at the front of the grid unless it's a crazy race like China was.
Qualifying is over over and Devon is on the front of the grid.
Well, that's because he has a great race car to work with. It's not like I could have done anything with the Haas.
Appreciate your time.
What does the Spanish Grand Prix have in store for us today, I wonder? I hope we see some tight wheel-to-wheel action down the main straight, circa Mansell and Senna way back in '91. Or maybe we'll have a more strategic race here on a track where overtaking can be difficult. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya then, a high-speed 2.89-mile circuit which demands an efficient downforce package and bravery on the part of the driver, especially through the blind right of turn 9, which we might just see taken flat this weekend. Alongside me once again for coverage of today's race, it's none other than the great Anthony Davidson. Now, can I talk to you about Sebastian Vettel? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Devon Butler, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, and Faber, Perez, Grosjean, Norris, and Lance Stroll, Ricciardo, Gasly, Daniel Kvyat, Bird, Raikkonen, Vettel. They've taken a grid penalty. Nico Hülkenberg and Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Keep your eyes open on the run to turn 1 and keep it clean. We want to come out in one piece. Good luck.
So, as you can see, we have fallen back to P14, not P15, because Sebastian Vettel has taken a grid penalty, and he was ahead of us, so that makes up one lost place that we had. It's going to be a two-stop here, just because we have to start on the soft tires, so soft, medium, mediums. The mediums are going to die out, like, literally on the last lap of their stints, so that shouldn't be too bad, unless I do some really bad tire wear job here, but here we go for the 5 red lights. 3, 4, 5, and we're gonna get our revs ready, and we're off. Got a bunch of wheel spin. It's not a great start. I had the counter steer to prevent my car from going sideways, and as we lose 2 positions to Vettel and Raikkonen up ahead, but we're gonna dive bomb up the middle or up the inside, and Kvyat completely knocks us off circuit, and we do not have any damage, which is a miracle considering how hard he hit us, but we actually managed to gain a place out of that, so that's a big plus. We try to go around the outside of Kvyat, but we're going to get a replay here in a second of what happened, but not quite yet, as we are still trying to dive up the inside of Kvyat. We're still kind of stuck behind him, but a little slow through that left-hander, right-hander, high mid-speed chicane, I guess you can call it, and a little slow through that uphill right-hander of turn 9, as now Gasly's going to come at us, as he's going to try to do us around the outside of the hairpin, but we're just going to shut him out, close the door on him, and then keep it going in P13. But here's the replay from Kvyat's point of view. He got a pretty good start on Gasly, but as you'll see, he'll have no idea that we were even there. Maybe if he was actually looking at his mirrors, but you can't really see the mirrors from this cockpit view. Yeah, you can't even see me come out of nowhere at my big dive bomb, so just lucky that we escaped with no damage there, as Kvyat not completely just destroyed us. But we're going to jump to the end of lap 2 now, as Kvyat is actually getting away from us, and Gasly is going to be mounting an attack as he's getting the slipstream right behind us. We have the engine in hot lap mode, but we drop down the low for the corner. Gasly dives up the inside, but for turn 2, the outside turns into the inside, as we are able to keep our position from Gasly, squeeze him out on the next long turn 3 here. Moving on to lap 5 now, you can see that Vettel is overtaking Gasly, and now he's going to be coming for us, in his high-speed Ferrari. We dive in a little deep because Kvyat's going rather slow through turn 1 there. But as you'll see, we try to carry a little too much speed in with the dirty air, which allows Vettel to get alongside of us, and we try to brake as late as possible to clear Vettel, but in the end, we just couldn't hold the Ferrari back, and that's us down to P14 on our soft tires. Moving on to the end of lap 6 now, we are going to be ending up making our first pit stop from our soft tires to our first set of mediums. Unfortunately, because we moved up in the P10 in qualifying in Q3, we had the start on the softs, which is going to put us at a major disadvantage during this race. Basically what happened was I was kind of low in qualifying. If I was in like P10, I would have left it on the one run in Q2, but I ended up making a second run because I was all the way down in P13, and I didn't want to drop all the way to the back end of the grid. In hindsight, it probably would have been the smarter idea to do that, because then I would have been on the same strategy as all the other midfield cars, but unfortunately that was not the case. We are now moving up to lap 13 when we finally catch up to Robert Kubica in the Williams for P19. We are going to, this is the first car we've seen since we've made our pit stop. But basically we're going to try to overtake him on the long finish straight. And after that you can see that Grosjean and then a Racing Point and then George Russell is up ahead as the next few cars that we should be able to try to overtake. DRS on, we are full of beans on the engine. Rich mix and high ERS. We were in hot lap for a second, but we gotta save fuel. Sebastian Vettel's coming out of the pits on his hard compound tire, so maybe we'll be able to try to catch him on our mediums for now, but we've successfully overtaken Kubica, and our next job is to try to overtake Vettel or Grosjean if Vettel gets to him first. And as we can see, that Vettel did get to Grosjean first, so our next job is to overtake him, as we have two corners where we're locking up here. Not the greatest thing for the tires that are already going to be on the limit as we approach the end of their stints, but with DRS open, we have the engine in rich mix and hot lap mode. We're going to dive up the inside. Grosjean actually locks up because he was probably scared of how fast we were coming in, and we successfully overtake him without making any contact, which is pretty sweet. That's us up to P9. As you can see, here's from Grosjean's view. Watch us just gain rapidly with the DRS and our engine at full power. It's a fresh engine too. I don't know if Grosjean's using a worn engine or not, but we are just going to dive up the inside. He locks up and then just turns in on us, but just missing us by like a little bit of a hair there. But we're going to move on to 2 laps later, and I don't think Grosjean's going to be too happy with us from that dive bomb, as he's now mounting an overtake attempt. Since he has DRS, I accidentally swerve onto the grass a little, which slows us down, but he's going to take the inside this time. He locks up again and crashes into us, making us lose our front right wing end plate. We are not going to have any downforce now. Luckily we are at the end of our stint here. Our pit window opens next lap, so I don't think pitting 1 lap early would be too much of a bother, but as you can see, we have no downforce going into any left-hand turns now. We are going to be extremely slow with that yellow front wing. Another left-hander, just overshoot the corner because we have no downforce. So we're going to skip on to the end of the lap. As suffering as that was, as terribly in suffering as that lap was, we'll finally be able to get off our damaged front wing and pit for a new one, unless Grosjean goes into the pits. He went into the pits. If he wasn't trying to sabotage me by accidentally locking up, he's definitely doing it by forcing me to stay out. I'm squeezing off Norris, but he's really forcing the issue here. I'm going to take the inside and try to squeeze him out, but we make more contact. Norris is still right behind me. I don't know if he took damage from that or not, but I'm just pissed at I'm just pissed at Grosjean that he, one, took out my front wing, and two, pitted on the lap so I couldn't make my own pit stop. The issue was that if I do pit, then I'm losing. I feel like I was gonna lose way more time than just staying out an extra lap, but I'm still losing time no matter what. Because if I go in for the double stack, then the pit crew is gonna be slow anyway, and who knows how long I'm gonna sit in the pits. But anyway, Hamilton gets over Norris from our contact around the first 3 corners, and he's gonna try to go around the outside, but we're gonna dive bomb him back and squeeze him out at the hairpin to keep P8. We're just slowing up Hamilton here and Norris. Norris gets back ahead of Hamilton, and we're finally going to be able to make our pit stop here on the lap we're scheduled to, but with the damage, it was a lap too late, as I've already lost a lot of time to Grosjean. As you can see, you'll probably be able to see him coming around through the start-finish straight as I'm getting my front wing changed. That's a Alfa Romeo, Racing Point, and Renault. And I think the next car, if you're watching the mini-map, is Alfa Romeo, and then there goes Grosjean. I'm still stuck in my pits. I'm revving because I'm just mad. I've lost so much time. P19 out of 20, but here comes Kubica. We are going to be in dead last again. This is not what I envisioned when I started this race was going to happen, but here we are in P20 for our comeback drive, I guess you can call it. You can see that both of the Williams up aheads are on hard tires, so they should be easy to grab places from with their slower tire and their lack of downforce. We're skipping ahead up to lap 20, where you can see we are finally on the back of Robert Kubica. We are stuck. We couldn't get him on the back straight with the DRS, so we had to lose more time through sector 3 as we finally are able to get onto another straight with DRS, so we can attempt to overtake him. He's trying to squeeze us. You can see how mad I am just driving. I'm just really angry from the Grosjean incident. You can see it by me weaving around like crazy and aggressively on Kubica. Moving another lap or two ahead, you can see that we are catching on this is Giovinazzi here, not Raikkonen. Raikkonen's way farther ahead, but we have DRS on him. We're gonna make an easy little overtake, kind of squeeze him off. Just all these movements I'm making are just out of anger. Catching up to Russell on lap 26, we have what is that? 6 laps left after. Not counting lap 26, we have 6 laps left. We have DRS. We're pretty far back on Russell. Him with the Mercedes engine. It's going to be pretty hard to overtake him through here, but we are gaining rapidly. And Russ, I was going to go to the outside, or the inside, but Russell makes a gap open on the outside, and I just dive him because I wanted that inside for turn 2, so I could squeeze him out. And oh man, I did not even mean to do that when I was driving, but as you can see, we are rapidly gaining on Grosjean. That's 4.8 seconds and then 3.8 seconds. The first time I showed that I didn't mention was a 5.6 seconds. So we are gaining on Grosjean at a rate of whatnot here, and you can see at the end of at the beginning of lap 32, I should say, we are only 1.3 seconds behind Roman Grosjean. I just found unbelievable pace after I got past Russell. I was completely angry, completely pissed at Grosjean, and I was gonna do whatever it took to get that position back from him. The team put him on hard tires, which is probably why I was catching him so fast. I don't know what the team was thinking, because mediums were plenty enough to get to the end of the race, but that's Grosjean's loss. Maybe it was a punishment for taking me out and making me lose so much time. So we're going to go to the end of lap 32. I am right on the back of Roman Grosjean's gearbox here. And we're going to make a little move down the pit straight here. For P16, unfortunately, such a low position, not even for points, but I didn't even care. A victory for me was going to be overtaking Roman Grosjean. We're gaining on him extremely fast. A little tire tap there to show him what I thought of his previous move on me, where he took out my front wing. And as you can see, Max Verstappen has already won the race. If we had a few more laps, he probably would have lapped us. But we're moving on. It looks like we're finishing in P16. Unfortunately, that we had to do the 2-stop. The 1-stop would have been way faster as we swerve around to show Roman Grosjean what we just think of that. What we think of him right now.
Red Bull pulling out all the stops today. What a great win. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
So it was a good race for the Red Bull team with Max Verstappen taking the win and Devin Butler securing the 1-2. Valtteri Bottas finishing off the podium with the Ferraris coming 4-5 there. Not so great for us. The Haas team coming down in 16th, 17th. We started at P9 and P10. We qualified P8, P9, and P10. Grosjean got the move up to P8, and I went down to P14, but we got locked onto the worst strategy there. So it wasn't really that great. We managed to keep P9, and Grosjean keeps P14 in the standings, but we are only 1 point above Kimi Räikkönen. Valtteri Bottas takes P2 as Vettel falls down to P3, and Verstappen moves up to P4 with that victory. Red Bull overtakes Ferrari in the standings by 3 points. McLaren takes their place as a best of the rest as Racing Point gets overtaken down and moves down to 5th. We are there in 5th, but we are 16 points behind. It's still early season, but we can still fight for that position.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. Your old opponent from F2 had a great race. What goes through your mind when you see him up on the podium? That was a close finish. How are things between the two of you? Appreciate your time.
So beating Grosjean, of course, means we have gained more rivalry points than he has, but we have also lost to Lucas Weber. The McLaren is actually pretty fast for it being lower down on the R&D chart. We are just surprisingly slow compared to where we are. We couldn't really, well, most of it was the strategy, but we have had trouble catching Racing Point and McLaren. But we're going to move into the R&D chart. We're going to hopefully change things around by getting more upgrades on the car. I was kind of debating on what I should be upgrading, but then I realized Monaco is next, and Monaco is all about the chassis and downforce. And we're more lacking in the downforce than we are in the chassis department. So I decided to go for a front downforce upgrade and a rear downforce upgrade. Hopefully we can keep that car planted down in Monaco, and hopefully we'll be able to improve our times going around the lap, because qualifying is the most important, and then because the race it's just impossible to overtake unless you're really daring. We're going to move the engine back to the first unit just to use it, because Monaco is not really power hungry too much, so I'm not really too concerned. But we have a nice fresh gearbox, so we don't have to take any grid penalties going into Monaco. So that'll do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. And I'll see you guys later.